Georgia reported 2,635 coronavirus cases with 2,244 recoveries and 49 deaths on Friday, said Berdia Sichinava, deputy head of the task force of the Interagency Coordination Council, at a press briefing at the government administration.
Georgian capital Tbilisi reported the highest number of 1,134 COVID-19 cases within the last 24 hours as of Friday, followed by the Imereti region with 388 cases and the Ajara region with 230 cases.
Georgia's total case tally now stands at 204,003 cases. Among them, 1,071,526 people recovered and 2,002 died.
There are 468 people placed in government-assigned quarantine facilities. 6,680 COVID-19 patients are hospitalized. 2,183 are being treated at COVID hotels.
This is the Checkpoints, hosted and co-authored by Elena Kvanchilashvili and myself. I'm Georgi Sakadze. Already traditionally, we have gathered together to talk about business and economics.
Sunday, 10 p.m. is the time for the Checkpoints indeed. And speaking of COVID, one more update here is that the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, completed the 7th review of Georgia's economic reform program, supported by a 4-year extended arrangement under the Extended Fund facility. The completion of the review will release SDR 79 million, or about 114 million USD, to help Georgia meet balance of payments needs stemming from the COVID-19 shock. Total disbursements so far under the arrangement amount to SDR 406 million, or about 585 million USD.
Yeah, and following the Executive Board discussion, Mr. Tao Zhang, IMF Deputy Managing Director and Chair, made the following statement that Georgia faces a pronounced economic slowdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic, despite the successful containment of the first wave of the pandemic. The recent rising cases has required new measures that could weaken the recovery. Risks are large and mostly to the downside. According to Mr. Zhang, the National Bank of Georgia has appropriately maintained a moderately tight monetary stance to anchor inflation expectations while safeguarding exchange rate flexibility. Inflation pressures have abated, the output gap widened, and the nominal effective exchange rate stabilized. The tight monetary policy stance and continued foreign exchange intervention may need to be sustained to prevent disorderly market conditions and bring inflation towards the 3% target. Macroeconomic policy discipline and donor support is expected to keep foreign exchange reserves at an adequate level. The proactive monitoring of financial risks and actions to preserve banks' capital until the economy rebounds would support the recovery.
Georgi, to further continue Mr. Zhang's arguments, the IMF believes that the fiscal response to the pandemic has helped alleviate its adverse economic and social impact, with higher healthcare spending, targeted and temporary support to households and businesses, and sustained public investment. The 2021 budget will further support the economic recovery while starting fiscal consolidation consistent with Georgia's fiscal rule. The authorities' proactive monitoring of fiscal risks stemming from power purchase agreements and state-owned enterprises are expected to help safeguard debt sustainability. Plans to reform state-owned enterprises will help to improve the efficiency of the public sector. This is another emphasis of the statement. One more highlight is that decisive implementation of structural reforms is critical to support the recovery and limit scarring from the COVID-19 shock. Mobilization mobilizing investment, advancing education reform, implementing the new insolvency framework, developing the local capital market and judiciary reforms would further improve the business environment and support private sector-led growth. Performance under the IMF-supported program remains satisfactory. The EFF arrangement has helped support the authorities' policies to limit the economic impact of the pandemic. I will remind our viewers that these are the words of Mr. Tao Zhang, IMF Deputy Managing Director and Chair of the Executive Board.
Building the transparent environment will help Georgia to boost its reputation and become even more appealing for doing business here. This is a quote of yet another IFI, World Bank, and its representative in Georgia, Sebastian Molyneus. He is addressing those companies who have taken part in the annual awards ceremony.
Yes, Barta, which we have been covering in the checkpoints recently. Now, the ceremony, which is just 2 years old, has yet another cohort of businesses who are willing to set higher standards for transparency. We can now listen to Mr. Molyneus for more.
Barta was launched last year, aiming to encourage and support the emerging culture of transparent annual reporting here in Georgia. The Barta Award, or the Transparency Oscar, if you will, promotes the companies that are successfully preparing their annual reports and also encourages other entities to keep up. We hope that over time, this award will contribute to business transparency that will lead to capital market development and to an improved investment environment through informed decision-making based on sound financial and management reporting. Indeed, the availability of timely and reliable information on entities' corporate governance, finances, performance, and risks allows existing and potential investors to make better and more informed decisions. And by creating a transparent environment, Georgia will continue to improve its credibility and become an even more attractive country for doing business. The accounting and auditing reforms in Georgia have already made the business environment more transparent and reliable. And the information platform, reportal.ge, that has been developed by Ceres, has already improved transparency in the corporate sector and is recognized by a wide audience of users, such as international rating agencies, think tanks, the business community, and academia. Now, all these factors benefit the Georgian investment environment. And as a part of Georgia's ongoing reforms aimed at bringing the country closer to the European family, company transparency and quality reporting remain an important precondition for Georgia's capital markets and economic development. Perhaps to highlight, just a few weeks ago, we witnessed yet another landmark transaction for Georgian companies. Joint stock company Silknet, a leading Georgian telecommunications operator, which launched an offering of Georgian depository notes linked to $200 million, 5-year unsecured bonds listed on the global exchange markets of Euronext in Dublin. The first transaction of its kind was done by the Georgian Stock Exchange and its subsidiary Georgian Central Security Depository, and will allow both domestic and foreign investors simultaneously to trade the Georgian depository notes and their underlying notes, which would increase local demand and liquidity for Silknet's notes. The transaction will improve the vibrancy of the Georgian exchange and is yet another step for Georgian businesses to access global markets and at the same time to allow foreign investors to discover Georgian businesses.
Speaking of a transparent environment for business, let us then briefly review the OECD's recent investment policy review document. What do you think?
Why not? This is the first time that the OECD touched upon the investment challenges, opportunities, potential, and also suggested a very fresh view of the history that Georgia's liberalization of the economy and the reforms targeting FDI specifically have brought to Georgia up to this point.
Let us then summarize briefly some of the points that me and you think are important. And let me start with the following point. A comprehensive investment policy statement would help align all actors behind a joint vision and foster synergies between investment experts and enterprise and innovation promotion. Such is an assumption of OECD's recent investment policy review for Georgia. According to OECD, several institutions promote investment and actively pursue investors. While this is in itself is not a weakness, the lack of strong coordination, starting with a single government focal point for investors, leads to inefficiencies, duplication of efforts, and confusion for investors. The review identifies those areas of Georgia's investment promotion framework which could be threatened. Foremost among these are the ongoing efforts to reinforce the independence, accountability, and capacity of the country's judiciary. Other important challenges include ensuring the intellectual property rights are enforced effectively, realizing universal land registration, and continuing to improve the legal and institutional infrastructure that supports alternative dispute resolution services.
Yes, a very important point. Indeed, my focus will be on the agriculture sector, Georgi, and partially unemployment, since most self-employed people are concentrated exactly in this very sector. Attracting investment in Georgia's agricultural and food value chain, collectively accounting for 10% of GDP and 44% of employment, has the potential to generate substantial benefits for key sectors. Such was another assumption from the OECD's recent investment policy review for Georgia. According to OECD, in the past decade since the liberalization of Georgia's economy, the most significant structural change is the decline in value added for agriculture. Deriving from mainly ILO's assessments, the review argues that the agriculture accounted for more than 1/3 of GDP following independence, while it now contributes just 8%. However, this decline was not accompanied by a reallocation of labor, and agriculture remains the country's largest employer, absorbing 42% of the workforce in 2019. And another point that's worth mentioning here is also that, according to OECD, while urban poverty has more than halved since 2004, rural poverty increased following liberalization reforms, only declining markedly since 2012. However, rural poverty reduction appears primarily due to increases in state transfers and other social assistance rather than job opportunities.
So you mentioned that Investors Council was actively involved in the expertise as well as discussions of the results of this very important policy document and investments.
Yes, Georgi, you're totally right, and our viewers now have the chance to see what are some of the reforms that the Investors Council has been working in 2020. A short review of the year from Georgi Cherkezishvili, head of the Investors Council Secretariat.
Let us, first of all, sum up the year 2020, the year of uncertainty, as called by many today, due to COVID-19. What did you have to change in the agenda of Investors Council? And also, what are some of the challenges and opportunities that you see in drawing FDI into this country?
2020 year was a really very challenging and difficult year for all the world. Investor Council Secretariat is also affected these challenges, but we had a very productive and very active year in regards of the reforms and in regards of fulfilling our mandate, which is to provide the recommendation and provide the policy dialogue between the private sector, government, and international organizations.
So what are some of the priorities that COVID-19 has brought to the table?
The effect of the COVID-19 of the companies and the business society in the country, it's affected, and we, as the Investor Council, starting from the very beginning of this pandemic situation in the country, we started a dialogue between the government and the private sector and donor organizations. Started a survey of the business members of the Investor Council and in the business community in the country, and asked Pricewaterhouse to prepare this study and a survey of this impact. This first phase was covered April 2020, and recently in October we provided the second phase of this study, and then it showed that what's their business real problems, what are their major challenges.
Name some of the challenges and opportunities and expectations. Just a few more.
Major challenge was a decrease in demand, and second was the some factor of the value chains and some access to some distribution channels. In regards of the keeping personnel, for example, for the big companies, it was relatively more stable, and then also to refinancing or getting access to the finances on rescheduling existing liabilities toward the banks. Around 75% of the companies they used for restructuring their existing liabilities toward the banks.
Back to the reforms part. So, what should foreign direct investors expect of Georgia after post-COVID period, when all the studies, all the IFIs, all the donors, everyone is speaking that competition for FDI will be much higher than it was before?
Yeah, definitely competition will be high, especially such countries like Georgia is. Our members' experience provided quite intensive recommendations to the government. We are very close cooperation in the attraction of FDI with Enterprise Georgia. We are working also closely on the elaborating their FDA strategy, and we recently all members had a positive feedback on newly initiated FDI grants scheme. We have separate working groups for the legal frameworks of the development of the capital market, the development of the energy sector, pharmaceutical sector, and then all the challenges in different fields of the economy. And then we are providing recommendations to the government, and also working on legislative or some steering committees, and then providing all the recommendations and inputs from our members.
Yes. So what I know, we might get new updates on the reforms on leasing, on factoring, on securities. Could you please name some of these, and why do you think that these are crucial for the post-COVID period?
Access to the capital and alternative financial sources is crucial for the companies, especially post-COVID situation, especially when the crisis is there. We are working very actively in different stakeholders in regards of the development of the leasing strategy of the country, working closely with the working group of the factoring operations, working also on the securitization and in the many other initiatives. And you are familiar that this year government approved the law on investment funds, and then we are expecting that this development of the capital market will support investment climate in Georgia.
Thank you for taking our questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Potential for investments is huge in FACS right now. We have been following the story for quite some time in the checkpoints, and the main reason is that the FDA said that the FAC therapy is something to look at seriously.
Yes, Georgi, I remember at the end of the November, around November, when we started to follow this story, since the FDA allowed FAC therapy for COVID-19 patients, and under the FDA emergency investigational new drug allowance, Adaptive FAC Therapeutics has been allowed to administer their FAC therapy to 30 COVID-19 critical patients. In those cases, the standard care of antibiotics have failed.
Yes, and we mentioned that Georgia has a very good history of FACS. Anna Johadze worked on the story, which we can view right now.
than a year has passed since the appearance of COVID-19. The world continues to fight the rapidly spreading virus. How soon the spread of the virus is going to end is still under question. The cure has not been found so far, but everything may soon change. We will hopefully witness a historic discovery. In late November, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the use of phage therapy to treat patients infected with the coronavirus. If the expectations are met, the interest in Georgia will increase. Grounds for this assumption stand on the almost century-old asset of the country, the origin of which is connected to Georgi Eliava. A young microbiologist, Georgi Eliava, returned to Georgia from the Paris Pasteur Institute with Canadian scientist Felix Darrell, who discovered the bacteriophage phenomenon. With the right idea and approach, Georgia should become a world center of bacteriophage. In the same year, the story of Institute of Bacteriophage, Microbiology and Virology began on Gotua Street. The director was Georgi Eliava himself. The consultant was Felix Darrell. The story of Eliava and Darrell ended in 1937. Georgian scientist was a victim of political repressions. Canadian Darrell left Georgia but passed down a crucial legacy. During the Soviet period, the Institute was involved in developing and producing new drugs, vaccines against the diseases of bacterial and viral origin. The center's productivity includes up to 200 tons of vaccines, serums, and phage preparations during the week. Due to the scale, an independent railway line enters the territory of the Institute. Loaded wagons pass throughout the country. The Institute was established as one of the most powerful biological centers in the Soviet Union. There were several directions: scientific research and enterprise. Activities of the center involved producing biological products, for instance, vaccines for horrible diseases such as Siberian ulcer, brucellosis, rabies, diphtheria, and etc. The second direction was diagnostics, through which certain infectious diseases were diagnosed and treated. The third major area was phage preparations. Another advantage of the center is scientific research, which is kept in the ancient library in the same building. Research papers still play a major role in the development of new medicines today. The Institute aims to unpack interesting discoveries, among them the current new virus that has posed significant challenges to the world and Georgia. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration allowed phages to fight infectious diseases a few years ago. It has now been emphasized that phages can be used for patients with secondary infections who cannot respond to these infections with antibiotics. I hope this process will continue. It is said that the original plan that Georgi Eliava had was implemented successfully. One window principle. This is how they work here. The patient manages to receive all types of services, starting from the diagnosis, ending with the treatment. After the detection of the infectious agent in the diagnostic center, the selection of appropriate bacteriophage begins. Beyond the standard 6 products which are produced on the territory of the Institute, it is also possible to create individual medicines that can be purchased in the pharmacy of the Institute. The question, however, remains: so why exactly do we choose bacteriophages? The area of application of phage medicine is quite large. From sore throat, burns, wounds, gastrointestinal problems, food poisoning, and many more complex and chronic problems, all of this can be solved with phages. This is our peculiarity and uniqueness. We effectively adapt the phages and create effective cocktails that solve these problems. The drugs produced by the Eliava Institute are officially registered in the local market, and the process is ongoing in the export markets. Demand for medicine is already in more than 50 countries around the world. Phages are sent from the Eliava Institute to more than 50 countries. The Institute has an important role and potential in the field of medical tourism as well. Patients from all over the world visit the center. Coronavirus paused medical tourism, but the institute made contact with patients despite being thousands of miles. The telemedicine division has been launched, thanks to which the institute clinic doctors have individual contact with patients in the countries marked on this map. They offer all the procedures that the patients could have previously undergone on the spot. The Eliava Institute recently offered to provide coronavirus tests. The service is available in the center of the capital as well as a few kilometers away from Tbilisi. Rustavi Diagnostics has a new history backed by centuries of experience. While we're here, realizing that we live in a historical period, witnessing many more discoveries.
Let's then move from the very old business to a very new business, and what's more, targeting a totally new direction in food tech, namely conceptual food tech.
Yes, and these are the 5 young people, all Georgian, from different parts of the world who are ready to do business in a very new way.
And up to the highest possible standards too, with a strategic roadmap for fundraising and a pool of investors already interested in their businesses. And they are like around in their early 20s.
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah. A diverse pool, including UK, Germany, and Estonia, to name the list. So, food tech, DineSpace, in Anna Tavadz's focus in the checkpoints.
Biggest asset in the world is people's time. Believers of this concept, 5 individuals with rich educational backgrounds and professional achievements have carved their way into the field of innovative food tech. DineSpace is an app that allows customers to have a more smooth and enjoyable dining experience. CFO Ioana Chikoani and CTO Georgi Tsavrebadze of DineSpace sat down with the checkpoints to tell us more about their achievements and future plans.
DineSpace is on a quest to transform the way world thinks about dining. This is the opening line of your mission statement. And I like that a lot. So let's unpack that a little bit. So when, where, and how was the initial idea born? And how did you get from the idea to an actual concept that DineSpace represents today?
We were really inspired by what Travis Kalanick, Uber CEO, said. If you can give people their time back, you're providing some kind of magic to your customers. And that's what DineSpace is really all about. Initially, Michael, our CEO, came up with the idea of pre-ordering a meal at a local restaurant, sparked from the frustration of endless waiting before the food gets ordered and table gets served. Building on this, we wanted to also solve the problem of group dining, of how painful it is to arrange a group meal before you choose the place with the friends and decide on what to eat and before the bill gets delivered. To sum up, our mutual shared desire to make the DineNow experience seamless was what led us to founding DineSpace. DineSpace is a fast-growing food tech startup with a mission to make the DineNow experience seamless. Our app enables individuals and groups of people to pre-order and prepay for the meals they eat while dining out. This helps people to save time, eliminating the wait time while ordering food, getting served, and receiving the bill. Meanwhile, restaurants benefit from the increased table turnover, simpler inventory management, and also receive more traffic through additional exposure on our platform. Right now, European market is divided into 3 different segments of delivery and pickup, reservation and pre-order. What we're trying to do is create a strategic advantage by combining the pre-order with the reservation functions into our application. Essentially, we're trying to combine all of the aforementioned 3 to unite in one, to create cost-saving synergies for both customers and restaurants.
How have your personal experiences helped shape the company? And can you tell us a few words about the management/leadership style?
We have 5 core founding members of the DineSpace team. Our CEO, Michael, is a University of Exeter finance major who has experience in co-founding a business process outsourcing company with Ioane. Ioane, our CFO, is a University of Sussex finance major and has experience in working as a deputy director at Cinkhoffer, Georgia supermarket chain. Tengiz, our CPO, is a graduate from University of Cambridge, has worked at McKinsey London, and also has experience in co-founding a startup that has raised capital at a valuation of over $300,000. I'm Georgi, the CTO. I'm the University of Toronto undergraduate. I've went through Rockstar Accelerator in the Netherlands and also have raised over $100,000 for my previous startup. and have been featured in École Polytechnique annual report. Christopher, our COO, is a University of Bocconi economics major. He has experience in co-founding a startup which is a largest student-led international research organization and has over 35 universities as partners. In general, we are a team of 13. We're growing rapidly. Just last week, 3 new members joined our team. Our B2B sales team, who will be helping us with outreach to our partner restaurants.
So social responsibility is becoming the backbone of corporate philosophy of almost every company that aims to make the community and society around them better. Has DineSpace identified certain areas of corporate social responsibility that it might want to acquire?
So let me tell you some numbers that might be shocking. Over 600,000 tons of food is wasted in the UK every year. For every meal in a UK restaurant, about half a kilo is being wasted. Our app in and of itself helps restaurants massively with inventory management, and that is how we help to tackle this problem. Another issue that we're accounting for is that busy diners have one thing in common. Their plans can change instantly, making the pre-ordered meal redundant. Of course, we enable them, our customers, to cancel their meal with a reasonable time. However, for reservations where the preparation has already started, we're implementing a system within our app which will allow restaurants to redistribute that food to the local community. And we believe that restaurants will join this beautiful initiative because it is a simple way to build a sustainable business while also giving back to the local community.
So approximately 2 months left before launching the app. Can you give us a brief overview of what you have achieved so far, and also comment on the current important features of the app or other priority elements you're working on right now?
We have already won European Fund for Southeast Europe and BTU's Pre-Accelerator and 10,000 cash prize. Recently, we have also gained Georgia's Innovation and Technology Agency's 15,000 grant. Initially, we will be launching in London, Exeter, and Brighton. We have 60 plus restaurants on board waiting for the app to be launched in a month or two, as soon as the UK relaxes its COVID measures. In terms of development, we're now expanding our development team to fully flesh out the DineSpace web and mobile apps.
DineSpace is actively fundraising to help fuel the rapid expansion, talking to investors in the UK, Germany, Estonia, and Georgia. They have a strategic roadmap in place for how they will raise $200,000 to $500,000 through a variety of grants, accelerators, and investments in the coming year. After securing the UK market, DineSpace plans to expand into Europe. Notably, they see a huge potential in Germany, although they're not planning to enter the Georgian market in the immediate future. Bringing the app into co-founders' homeland is definitely on the horizon.
And once again, about the importance of investments and the potential that Georgia has to attract FDI in the country, which will be crucial for the post-COVID recovery. The main emphasis that we have today is on the mining and natural resources and the effort that the Colliers International is taking in this direction.
Yes, Elena, and you're referring to the initiatives that Colliers International has had together with Mining and Mineral Solution to provide a joint service for the region and those who are interested in investing into the mining and natural resources in the 3 countries of South Caucasus: Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan.
Indeed, Georgian, not only referring to, but also offering a very interesting interview with the main people behind this initiative. We can watch the interview with Mako Zavrashvili and Irakli Kilauridze right now.
Let us start from the very beginning for our viewers. What does Colliers International Mining and Minerals entail, and where did the idea come from? And I would like to hear from both of you on this shortly.
As you are aware, Georgia is rich with different types of mineral resources. Most of them are under private ownership and they're being operated by the license holders, but there are a significant ore deposits in Georgia which where we can attract FDI. So That is the reason why Colliers International Georgia launched a new project providing businesses consulting services, full chain of consulting services. In Georgia, you know that mining sector is one of the major sector which contributes significantly in the economy of Georgia. And in addition, we have some kind of advantages in investing in this particular sector. So that was the reason why Colliers launched this project.
So, Irakli, let me come to you with the next question. So, to be more precise, what is the main challenge or main need that this new service tries to attempt to address?
Okay, for Colliers, it's important for our international and local clients to unlock the potential of the mining and natural resources in Georgia for several reasons. Firstly, we think it's a very good sector where we can attract FDI in the country. Secondly, it's a very capital-intensive sector, and I think it will help a lot the employment challenges that the country currently have. Also, this is a very good opportunity for the country to increase their export potential, because Georgia is quite rich, with its natural resources, and I think we have a very good opportunity to unlock this potential to the whole world.
Yes, and if we look at the broader picture, you aim at serving the region, South Caucasus, so to say, right? Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia. How does Georgia's investment climate compare to that of the region?
Well, we have to say very honestly that Georgia really stands out in the region as a country where the doing business is the easiest, and I think this is the main kind of advantage of our country for those goals and missions that I have just mentioned. Therefore, I think it helps a lot the foreign investors to come to the country, invest and do the business in this region. Of course, the other countries have also potential, but I think that Georgia is the right place to start.
Marco, back to you, please. And what are some of the specific consultancy directions that you think Colliers might be able to provide for those foreign investors who are interested in this sector in Georgia?
So Colliers covers a full chain of services, including project evaluation, due diligence studies, and identification of reserves and the estimation the reserves we have in Georgia, including using international standards for established by Joint Ore Reserves Committee. So that is our attitude and the approach with this regard, and this is the offer we are proposing to the international clients.
Yeah, just one more quick question here on this. Do you think you will be involved with investors on the pre-investment level, or do you plan to help them in post-investment level as well? Like, for example, cooperation with government structures, legal bases, whatever they might need after the period of...
that means pre-feasibility studies, and in addition other services which can be needed by the private companies, including government relations and legal assistance and so on and so forth.
Irakli, you mentioned briefly the big potential of this sector. What are the main figures, so to say, here?
Yeah, main figures, I think Marco will be more competent to answer that, but it's counting several $1 billion of export potential that totally Georgia has in its natural resources. And we just need to have a right approach to get these resources, have a right framework for international investors and right standards for those international investors, because international investors are expecting international standards to do the business. Therefore, this is our main goal, to have these international standards locally. And of course, we will need a lot of local expertise and international expertise to, let's say, extract this potential from our natural resources that Georgia has, but to do it in a correct way, because it's also very important to mention that it needs to be done in a way that the nature and the, let's say, this ecosystem is not harmed in a way that sometimes, in some cases, we have these issues. So our main goal is to do it in a proper way.
Yeah, is it easy for colliers to access this human capital and human expertise that you just mentioned? Could we say that this is one competitive advantage that colliers could capitalize on during this consultancy period?
Yes, definitely there is a mix of local expertise and international expertise. And because we are an international company, we have access to a big pool of international experts who are coming from the countries that are specializing, and let's say they are big players in this sector, like it can be Canada, it can be Australia, it can be South Africa. So in all those countries we have a very big, let's say, presence. Therefore we have a very good access to those international experts that we can bring basically this knowledge to Georgia, and together with the local experts, because our goal is also to teach the local, let's say, and increase the local expertise in this field, because at the end we need to, let's say, create our own human capital in this sector.
Marco, figures are very important for us and for our viewers. So I would come back with this question. Why do you think that this sector has a potential in figures to draw FDI, which will be very important for Georgia in post-COVID period? Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely, the mining industry is one of the key industry which contributes significantly in the country's economy. In the recent years, key economic figures staying promising. FDI inflows in mining industry is increasing steadily, and it's around 70 million USD per year. And we have to mention export shares, which is extremely important because mining industry is a key contributor in the export sharings, and it's around 25% of total export in Georgia. So this is a reason why we consider that this industry has high potential in Georgia.
Yeah, this question probably goes to both of you. Why did you start with the region, with the immediate neighbors of Georgia, like Armenia and Azerbaijan? What was the logic behind this focus on South Caucasus region?
I think the first thing to mention is we have a very good advantage of already having an office in Georgia. And basically, our office from Tbilisi covers the region, not only in this sector, but in other real estate sectors. We also do projects in Azerbaijan and in Armenia. So we have this kind, let's say, initial advantage of having this platform already existing in the country and in the region. That's the main reason. And the second, we think the region is quite rich in its way with natural resources, and we think that we can unlock this potential to the international investors. Plus, I think there is a, let's say, the sizing issue. Maybe only Georgia could be very small for the very large investors. Therefore, combining this region could be an interesting proposition for the, let's say, medium and larger investors that are operating in the sector.
Marco, if you want to add anything to that, and I will add a small question as well. What should be the outcome of this initiative for Georgia, for the region, and also what time frames? When do you think you can start measuring the effectiveness of this initiative?
So thank you. I will add some points on Irakli's messages. So collier services cover the region completely, but I would like to highlight some advantages Georgia has in the region. Of course, the advantages generally investment environment, business-friendly investment environment in general, and including with these FTAs, free trade agreements with which enables for international investors to have access on international markets. As well, Georgia has very good experience on implementing the reforms, structural reforms, particularly in this industry. So we can share this experience to our neighbor countries. And also about your extra question, I would like to add that yes, surely we think that we can increase the benchmarks of the sector. For example, we can increase FDI benchmark and of course export sharing. We are expecting that courier services will be one of the pushing factors with that regard.
And my last question, and to sum up, what is your message today to those who are watching the checkpoints? Just very briefly, go ahead.
So we want to encourage international investors to come and invest in mining sector in the region, because particularly in Georgia, we have significant ore deposits, including gold, copper, manganese, coal, groundwater deposits, very interesting and diverse construction materials. Therefore, we encourage everyone to come and invest in Georgia.
The main thing, I think, and our kind of a mission here is that, as I mentioned in the beginning, to unlock the potential of this country and of this region to the international investors for the several reasons. First, because it's as I mentioned, it's a very capital-intensive sector, and it attracts a lot of FDI to the region and to the country, which is very important for the economic development for our country and for the region in total. Secondly, it's mostly an export-oriented sector. So it also increases the export potential of the country and of the region. And thirdly, which is maybe not the least, but also very important, it also helps and increases the employment of those countries and in the region, which is also very important in these difficult and, let's say, interesting times that we are facing at the moment.
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, for taking time, and wish you and Georgia big success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And here comes the time for our traditional rubrics, Made in Georgia and 30 Under 30. Let me start with my favorite project, which is, by the way, open for new proposals, 30 Under 30, of course, Georgi. And please be active and follow news on Forbes G and apply. We are open for your applications. As for the current hero showcased by Maria Madamia is Georgi Cheminava, the international sales director of the brand Dalod. The collection of the Georgian brand Dalod is presented today in 4 different stores on 4 continents of the world, and 4 times a year it presents the brand and our country in Paris showrooms as well. Apart from Paris, you can meet this brand voice in London, China, and now in Australia.
It's been 2 years already since I work in Dalod, so it's been a long journey for me and for the brand as well, because it has extended and currently we have stores worldwide, such as big names in this business, Harvey Nichols, Galeries Lafayette, and many more. We can see stores in US, Europe, and Asian markets as well, and currently we have expanded in Australian market as well. So I think it's been a very nice growth for the brand, and to talk about the pandemic situation which is going globally, it has affected us a lot. First of all, the main problem is that we're losing clients and they don't want to pay for the clothing, and secondly, we see a big growth in e-commerce platform rather than offline sales buyers and others. We have developed a website which is our online store, and we have used this time to make plans and goals. Currently, we are working with the showrooms in London and in China, and we have started our PR and marketing projects with the agencies in Asia and Europe as well. So we see and we hope to have a very good growth in future in terms of sales. So the main obstacle for the brand for this pandemic time has been international transfers of the goods and to import and export the goods. First of all, it is very, very expensive to ship anything from Georgia. So our buyers sometimes refuse to buy from us because the prices are really, really high. And the second problem for the brand has been the prices of the fabrics and everything, because it has a very, very big growth. So we have to manage the prices of our products, and it's been really hard to have the last prices we had before the pandemic situation. Locally, Dalut has a very good reputation because it's been in the business for a very long time. So for the 3 or 4 seasons, Dalut has expanded very much globally, and we've been working with the celebrities around the globe. So the name of the brand has become more popular, I could say, and there has been requests from buyers and from the clients. So we are working on the PR projects to increase this request nowadays.
And what's made in Georgia? Time to ask this question. Salome Chipashvili today will be showcasing one of the largest holdings, Materia, which has been on the market since 2004. And since then, it has only been expanding, uniting to this day such sub-brands as Materia Uniform, Materia Sports, Materially, and Dots. Each of these sub-brands have their own niche on the market, targeting different types of consumers. During the pandemic, Materia has adapted its production so as to produce face masks and the medical wear. So, meet Clother, the very experienced and diverse brand in Georgia, Materia, and its representative, Nika Kvirikadze.
The house was founded in 1949. Privatization took place in 2004. Since then, we have been operating as a fashion house, Materia. We have kept the tradition and continued to work in fashion. We have also added new areas such as sports uniforms and special clothing. In 2015, the EBRD co-financed $3 million to build a new enterprise that helped us enter the international market. Our holding includes 4 sub-brands, namely Materia Uniform, which is focused on the production of Georgian special uniforms, as well as Materia Sport, which is focused on the production of sports uniforms. These are mainly the uniforms of Georgian rugby clubs, exported to 30 countries. We also have Dots, which is focused on fashion and focused on Georgian market and has 5 stores throughout the country. Our company meets many international standards, including ISO 9001, which is a management certification. We have been working with GIZ for 3 years on the BICSI certification. The pandemic has had a huge impact on our business. International sales declined, and so did our sales. But we managed to move to medical products and started producing disposable coats, overalls, and face masks. There are different types of medical coats. The price goes from 50 tetri to 5 lari. We can produce 100,000 coats, 40,000 overalls, and several hundred reusable face masks every week. It is noteworthy to mention that all employees maintained their original salaries throughout this period. Today, the company employs more than 300 people, of which 95% are women. Thus, we promote greater involvement of women. Our medical products are subject to all the standards recommended by the World Health Organization and are also competitive in price and quality with Chinese and Turkish products. Imports of similar products were limited during the first wave, which encouraged Georgian production. I think priority must be given to the sale of Georgian products, otherwise they will have to stop production, which will increase unemployment. Therefore, the state must pay attention and give priority to the sale of Georgian products. We started working on an online platform on which the first Georgian uniform brand for the international markets will be placed. With this brand, we want to repeat the success of material which is exported to 35 countries and sold in leading stores such as Woodman, Selfbridge, and etc. In about 3 months, we will be ready to run this platform.
And it's time to say goodbye for now. Next Sunday, 10 p.m. is the time to meet again.
Before that, follow us on BMG and 4G and take care. See you soon. Stay safe.